The more I look into it, the worse it gets.
It's leaving me scratching my head.
Before it launched, it came under heavy scrutiny.
But worst of all, by far, is this thing doesn't have Bluetooth, so the only way to use wireless headphones officially is to use some PlayStation Link compatible headset.
After it launched, it still remained in the firing line, and I'll admit it, I also joined the roast train for a hot minute too. I don't see any reason why you should buy the PlayStation Portal until Sony opens up those features that handicaps its use case. I mean, a remote play handheld from Sony that looked like the DualSense controller had a baby with an iPad mini? Come on, how is that supposed to succeed? Well, that's what most people thought, but here's the plot twist. It succeeded, and not just kinda succeeded, it exceeded everyone's expectations given its use case. Matter of fact, it's now one of Sony's best-selling accessories, and the sales numbers say it all. Of course, it hasn't been all sunshine and zero latency. We've had the grey screen of doom, random boot failures, lag so bad that even the best problem solvers on Reddit had a tough time figuring out the solution. Oh, and let's not forget that cloud streaming somehow skipped Australia. That said, over the past year, Sony slowly started to patch things up with updates, and not just on the inadequacies, but also loopholes like YouTube access tricks. On the inadequacies side of things, we saw the introduction of public Wi-Fi access, network support expansion, just to name but a few, and most recently, cloud streaming, unless you're living in the land down under. So how did a device that nobody believed in become one of Sony's most unexpected W's? Stick around because this is the long-term review of the PlayStation Portal, the handheld that shouldn't have worked.
So many YouTubers and media outlets absolutely destroying this device.
But somehow, it's one of Sony's biggest W's in recent times. For those who've been living under a rock, let's go back in time a little bit for some context. If you know anything about Sony's handheld legacy, it's all. Starting with the PSP, it was a beast ahead of its time, sleek, and if you'd ask me, the handheld flex of the mid-2000s. Then came the PS Vita, a cult classic that introduced us to an OLED screen before we knew that would be the gold standard for handheld gaming devices a few years down the line. Not to mention, it also introduced us to a touchpad on a controller, not knowing it would be coming on the PS4 controllers a few years down the line. But despite the hype and technology it came with, it flopped. Commercially, it was a disaster, but little did we know Sony would release another handheld over a decade later. So in 2023, when Sony announced the PlayStation Portal, people wanted to believe again. We all had that tiny spark of hope. Could this be the comeback? And then we were hit with no Bluetooth, needs a PS5, no storage, no local gaming, basically a remote playing handheld that needs you to jump through a few hoops to even have a chance of enjoying a game. For us in Australia, we saw a $329 price tag and we were like, $329 for a glorified streaming screen? Lots of question marks. And just like that, the internet unleashed its wrath on the PlayStation Portal. Now, let's not sugarcoat it. The launch was brutal.
The more I look into it, the worse it gets.
It's leaving me scratching my head.
And yeah, like mentioned earlier, I also dropped my 2 cents. Honestly, I was expecting a Switch killer, a budget Steam Deck rival, but instead we got a remote play screen. One that begged you to be near a router, say your prayers to the Wi-Fi gods, and hope for a somewhat okay experience. The moment you step outside the house, say goodbye to your connection and hello to the murkiest, most pixelated creators you'll ever see. For those of us who tried to connect to a hotspot, that was a side quest in itself. Hoops, passwords, QR codes, captive portals, you name it. It was less pick up and play and more pick up and pray and hope for the best. If you made it past that, you came face to face with microstatus working in tandem with network lag. For those of us who dreamt of consuming some content while playing, for a moment it was possible, then Sony patched it up. Honestly, with all those frustrations, it felt like a device built for 2025 but missing all the basics from 2010. And tell you what, the complaints painted the PlayStation Portal in a pretty grim light. But here's the plot twist. While majority of the internet were clowning it, myself included, more and more people were buying it. This obviously led to the question why, because it was hard to come to terms with how expectations were not being met, yet the sales numbers were through the roof. Was it out of curiosity? Was it comfort gaming? Or maybe, just maybe, we were all missing the point. Amidst that confusion, we started seeing updates that fixed issues, brought improvements, and just like that, the redemption arc began. Turns out the PlayStation Portal nailed a vibe, and not just any vibe, a special one at that. You and your partner are debating whether you'll be playing Call of Duty or how watching Love is Blind? No problem. Grab the PlayStation Portal, kick back on the couch, and live your best unplugged life from the TV. The kids hijack the TV for cartoons? No problem. Grab your Portal, retreat to the office, and keep the progress going. Design-wise, the screen, beautiful. The controls, classic DualSense haptics, only now there's an 8-inch screen between the left and right handles. With the build and design locked in, the gaming community did what it does best: find workarounds. Want to watch YouTube? Easy. Just send your mate the YouTube URL link on the game-based messages and boom, just like that, browser unlocked. But that wasn't for long. Sony saw that and patched up real quick. At that point, the updates were coming in thick and fast, and starting with version 2.0.0, we got the basics down. Remote play, system settings, all working smoothly. Then came 2.0.1 to 2.0.6, each update making small but meaningful tweaks. Diving a little bit deeper, version 2.0.1 brought dynamic resolution scaling. What that essentially did is, instead of forcing 1080p resolution to whatever content you're playing, it adjusted down for smoother playback. At first I was like, this is really good, but after a few days of use, I noticed the Portal was downscaling just too easy. In places where I enjoyed full 1080p like my living room, it dropped down to potato quality without a fight, which to be honest was a little bit annoying. If you'd ask me, a better solution would have been a resolution toggle just like on YouTube, but nope, that dream never made it off the roadmap. What came off the roadmap with a lot of buzz was version 3.0.0. Over here we saw a few more updates, but the main ones were public Wi-Fi support, visual touchback feedback, and battery percentage view. So whether you are in a shopping center, hotel, or a cafe with questionable Wi-Fi, the PS Portal finally had range. But off the jump, it had a few issues, with the biggest one being the inability to connect to public Wi-Fi networks, more so if it was a 5 GHz network. We also had some users complain about getting stuck in boot loops, gray screens, and internet drop-offs every 30 seconds. Then came version 3.0.1. This version sorted out most of the connection problems, as well as extending support for 5 GHz networks, and then the holy grail, version 4.0.0. This saw the introduction of cloud streaming, but with a catch. You had to have a PlayStation Plus premium subscription, and with that, you're now able to play PS5 games without the console, unless you live in Australia. For whatever reason, we got hard ghosted. PlayStation Plus premium subscription holders in Australia are still waiting for cloud streaming. Sony, please do something about it. That aside, not long ago we got update 4.0.1, and this fine-tuned stability, polished user interface messages, and kept the whole system humming a lot smoother. But it wasn't just software updates that made the headlines. The 30th anniversary Portal dropped a beautiful nostalgic hit for the OGs, and not long after, the long-awaited Blackout Edition also dropped. On a side note, grabbing the 30th anniversary Portal, Olympic level difficulty, not to mention scalpers who were absolutely taking everyone for a ride. Some of the listings I saw hit higher prices than the console it was built for. And just when we thought Sony might slow down, version 5.0.0 dropped. To be clear and transparent, those who have cloud streaming are the ones who will enjoy this feature the most, but nonetheless, we'll go through some of the updates. With this update, you'll be able to sort games in the cloud catalog, take game captures while streaming, give Sony direct feedback, get a heads up when your stream is about to shut down, wait in queue when servers are full, as well as restore your license from the quick menu. Oh, and they added a sound effect when opening and closing the quick menu. A small touch, but for us in Australia, I guess we'll have to wait a little longer to enjoy cloud streaming. By this point, the PlayStation Portal didn't just have fans, it had a cult following. Not even the scalpers could stop the hype, although let's be real, some of the resale prices were just so outrageous you'd think they came bundled with a PS6. Now, given how the Portal received a lot of flack when it initially dropped, we didn't expect it to get a lot of coverage in the preceding months, but not long after, the memes turned into tutorials and the tutorials spawned a whole fandom. Modders out there came up with different designs, and those who wished for a blackout edition finally had their wish granted. Fights over the TV remote reduced, kids were vibing with it in the back of cars. Not to forget, some office gamers decided to risk it all, and those public transport commutes went by so fast with the Portal in hand. Portal wasn't just a device anymore. It became a whole vibe, and let's be honest, it was never about raw power or maxed out specs. It was about access, about being able to play your PS5 wherever you are. No need to argue or fight over the TV remote, no need to hold your PS5 when going on holiday, just seamless gaming wherever you are. That said, at this point, I'm sure the question most of you are asking is, has the Portal been a success? Well, for a product that was designed to do just one thing, it's low-key delivered. It didn't try to beat the Steam Deck, it wasn't trying to be the next Switch, it just wanted to solve one specific problem, and it did in the most Sony way possible. Now, does it still have flaws? 100% yes. Despite all the good things that have happened along the way, we still have no Bluetooth support. Australia and a few other countries still can't enjoy cloud streaming. You can't enjoy your favorite show on Netflix or YouTube, just to name but a few. In saying that, the PlayStation Portal has managed to find its place in the gaming ecosystem. And if the updates are anything to go by, it's the kind of product that gets better with time. If anyone at Sony is watching this, please make it independent of the PS5, give us Bluetooth support and also access to apps like Netflix, YouTube and the likes. That said, what do you guys think? Drop your thoughts in the comment section because I'm genuinely curious to find out what the community stands on when it comes to the PlayStation Portal. As always, don't forget to like, subscribe, share and click that notification bell to get notified whenever I post a new video. Here's another video that you'll definitely enjoy. Until then, people of the internet, see you over here.